All right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's community Q&A. We're gonna get fired off today, and we're gonna start with Caleb. Caleb, you're gonna be rated 000. All right, Caleb. Hey Crank, I'm interested to know how you approach intros / verses. I tend to start with the drop and kind of struggle to make an intro that's not painfully simple and bland. Thanks. Really good question. So I understand that problem, and I have it very frequently as well. When I start a drop, it becomes like a guessing game of like, okay, what kind of intro is going to fit with this? Like, it doesn't like have the natural flow of things. The thing is that we're trained, as humans that are experiencing music in our life to listen to music linearly. So we listen to music from from start until end. And because of that, when we start in the middle of a song, it is relatively difficult for us to backtrack and create the earlier parts after the fact. So how I approach intros / verses when I have a drop versus when I don't have a drop are two different things. Let's start with a drop. If I already have a drop in place, what I'm trying to do when I'm considering my intro / verses is my whole goal here is to make the track as cohesive as humanly possible. So I'm considering elements that are in my drop. For example, is there a melody in my drop? Yes, great. This is actually very easy then. My intro is going to consist of a very, very toned down version of that intro, of that melody in the intro. Maybe faded out, maybe, really, really dialed back, etc. Are there chords in my drop? If so, great. I'm going to move those chords back to the intro, and I'm going to change them up ever so slightly, because usually you don't want the same chord progression to run all the way from intro to drop. You want it to be slightly different in the intro, and then usually around like the chorus or the hook, it becomes the same as it would be in the drop, and then in the drop it's as it is, right? So all those things, those are two straightforward examples of extracting what we already have in our drop and repurposing it for use in an intro. Now, say you don't have either of those things. Say you have like a dubstep drop. Dubstep drops typically don't have like melodies or chord progressions. It's more so, a monotone bass line and cool sounds. Well, there's still things that we can extract here. For example, the rhythm. Whatever rhythm is being played can be extracted. So say you just have like quarter notes, like wah, 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 or something like that. Then I'm gonna try to figure out a way to incorporate that rhythm into another sound, another instrument for my intro. So maybe I'll have a bell that goes like ding 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 ding, something like that, right? Where it's the same exact rhythm and purpose as what is going on in my drop. It's just a different execution, and that's how I usually go about making intros when I already have a drop. Now, when I don't have a drop, completely different story. This is when I'm experiencing the flow, which I was kind of alluding to with my preface of this question. The flow meaning you start working on the intro and you just slowly and naturally progress through the intro into the breakdown, into the build up, into the drop, etc. So what I'm usually doing is I'm just starting off and I'm throwing shit at the wall. Like I'm taking random percussions that I'm finding in random sample packs, throwing them in, making loops. I usually do start my intros with like drum loops, like creating drum loops, and then just like, usually after the fact, almost 90% of the time I end up cutting them out because it just doesn't really make sense to have like a super long drum intro anymore in tracks. My new song Move Back is actually a really good example where I decided to leave that in. But Move Back is pretty much exactly as it is. Like, I created that instrumental out of that intro, and just like, that was it. Like, it was a front to back type creation, and that was all that there was. So yeah, that's kind of how I do it in that sense. I just naturally, throw shit in the project, and then when I have too much stuff going on, I start cutting it out and moving things around and crafting an arrangement in that sense. Kind of takes time to get like really, really good at. Like, there's really no substitute for experience there, but it's a lot more like natural to people to work that way, so it should connect a little bit easier. But hopefully this is able to like answer your question and get you feeling a little bit more confident about making intros and stuff like that. Very good question. All right. Oops. Let me take a bite of yogurt here. All right. Skeuz. Howdy, Coach. I hear from a lot of artists that it's important to find your sound and stick with it to build a dedicated fan base. Drink of water 1 second. How important do you think this concept is to building a following? I primarily make melodic music, but I want to dip my toes into heavier bass genres like hybrid trap, rhythm, bass house, etc., to add energy to my live sets and flavor to my discography. You mentioned in your previous industry advice that you lost a portion of your fan base doing something similar. It took you a while to earn them back. Do you feel like attempting to straddle these opposite ends of the spectrum, melodic and heavy bass music, would be detrimental to my success as a growing artist? No. Very, very good question. I'm happy to talk about this. So it really depends on the capacity in which you do it. Fortunately, we're in a place with the scene and the genre right now. You have people that are Millennium fans, and you have people that are Excision fans. You have people that are fans of both, and the crossover is quite fucking large. So because of that, like, you shouldn't really have an issue if you're like a melodic guy and you get your feet wet in bass music. Now, that being said, there are proper ways to do everything. And to give you a little bit more specifics about my industry advice video that I lost a portion of my fan base doing something like that. What I was doing was a very, very hard, aggressive left turn, to be honest with you. I was known for like one type of melodic flip and heavy music. And I switched over to a completely different type of like melodic sound. So like I really did just like switch up hard. What you're suggesting is switching up not very hard. It's something that like they can coexist like naturally, like heavy bass music and melodic music can coexist naturally. But like I said, it really depends on intention and execution, right? Say you make like Millennium style music, like just for the sake of example, I can't recall exactly what your sound is, at what you're working towards at this moment. Say that it's Millennium style music, right? Say it's like literally call it Audion style music, okay? If it's, or let's go with Millennium first. Very, very different. Say you're making Millennium style music, big melodic stuff, and you drop a track like I don't even know. I'm trying to think of like a Space Laces song, like Kaiju by Space Laces. That's pretty substantially different. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty hard detour. I don't think it would kill you, but it definitely wouldn't like help you continue building a fan base that are like knowledgeable about what you do and what your purpose is for making music, etc. That being said, Say you make like an Millennium style sound of music, and you deviate and you make something like, I mean, like, to be honest, let's look at Shivering, like Millennium's song Shivering, the second drop. It's very, very heavy, but it still makes perfect sense, like with Millennium. And I think it's Shivering. Is it Shivering, right? Let me double check. Yeah. So yeah, like that's the second drop of Shivering, and it's like it's pretty aggressive, but like it still fits in like what. There's a bunch to unpack here. The overall song is still like very much an Millennium song. It just has like a different flavored drop. The nature of the sounds that he used in his drop still sound like Millennium. Like even though it's hard to quantize, but like the drums still sound very Millennium. The sounds aren't like crazy, like ridiculous, like Millennium Millennium has never been known for like creating like the craziest sounds you've ever heard in your life. He just writes really good music. The sounds in that drop aren't the craziest things you ever heard in your life. It just comprises or makes up good music. It fills its purpose. Does that kind of make sense? Like the intention and the execution here is really, really it is necessary to be considered. So like hybrid trap, rhythm, bass house, etc. Like it just depends. It's like if you're making, let's have another example. You make music like Audion, right? Say something like that. Let's, for example, progressive house, very pretty, very melodic, very like soulful and sentimental music, and you switch to rhythm. Well, and you make a song like fucking I don't know, Country Rhythm by Hall, whatever. Where's the crossover there? Like where is the factor in this that identifies you as an artist? You see what I'm saying? It's like having a sound is important, but having a sound doesn't mean simply making one genre. Now, I won't lie to your face. I think it's easier nowadays to pop off as a musician with your music by simply just like rinsing and repeating the same sound. Like it's pretty common for artists. Like I haven't seen an artist that's like multifaceted like pop off like that in a couple of years. Not even like Subtronics. Subtronics is like the closest to like a genre switcher manipulator type dude, honestly. Yeah, and he's pretty well known for like rhythm, which is not at all rhythm. It's not even close to rhythm. It's just that's what people know him as. But the thing is he's still like stuck very much to that sound and style when he was coming up, and only now that he's big is he switching out and experimenting like a shit ton and all that fun stuff. So take that information and do what you will with it, but I do think it's very important to have a sound. That sound does not necessarily need to be a genre, though. It's just the factors that you present when creating your music that people can pick up and identify. So yeah, that's my spiel on all that. Hopefully that gives you some insight there, because I'm pretty sure it's a positive answer for you, but it's just one that requires some thoughtfulness and consideration. So very, very excellent question though. All right, we're gonna move to River. River, you're gonna be at 14:30. Let me take another bite of yogurt. All right, River. Need some help recreating a noise that would fit perfectly. Forever by Roman Silver. It's the bass stab. Let's check this out. So here's the thing. When it where are we at? When it comes to recreating sounds, we can never get perfect, but we can understand what went into creating the sound over time. Just like be able to hear and understand, like, more than likely what techniques were used, and then based off of that, we can usually jump in and make something similar, or at least something that resembles what we're aspiring to create. So alright, so this is the sound we're looking for. So that's just pretty much like a distorted little bass hit and sounds pretty clean. So let's see. Siem. It's got a different tone for sure. Let's try like distorting this out a little bit. Okay, not that one. Let's try. I ultimately want to try Dynamic 2, but I feel like I need something else first. Let's try Overdrive. definitely a tricky one, that's for sure. Because it's one of those. The reason why it's so tricky is because it's like a nice filtered bass that has a very specific tone. But you got to figure out exactly how it's filtered and also how it's post processed. Let's try this. Alright, we're going to try something different. I'm going to restart. It's probably easier to use a clean slate now. I have a better idea, I think. He's a tough guy. I'm determined to get it now. See, that's you're getting close there with that. Maybe you want to try something that isn't drum bus. Let's try. we're trying the Camel Crusher. I might be close enough to the tone that I can get something now. Alright, let's duplicate that. Was not expecting this one to be that hard, not gonna lie. Get a kick in there so I can hear, because that's kind of jading the way the sound is. This is something. Oops, wrong track. God damn. Okay, well, it's kind of close now. It's like really close. It's just the wrong tone, and fuck, getting that tone is obnoxious. It's 100% determined by the wavetables, and I just don't know what wavetable to use. I'm gonna take one more shot by doing like this. Alright. Let's see if this gets it done. There's also some glass there, so that's like influencing the sound. Let's try throwing that on. All right, let's see. I bet I have one. Still the wrong fucking tone. God damn. Alright, one more. One more. That sounds good enough. Okay. That's about as close as I'm gonna get. God damn. All right, so let's just review here. So it turns out, like, fuck, I had like a little bit of a hunch on this, but damn. Getting the tone was the hardest part. From here, you know, it's pretty downhill, but the tone, it looks like it was basically just a sinoid and something like this, like a DS saw and try. A simple shape, more than likely. And then from there, it's just really, really distorted. So I have a filter and then Camel Crusher on after that to get like the initial sound. And then it's just about beefing it up, which none of these things worked. The Wave Shaper is really doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Vocoder for set to modulator. Let's see if that's actually doing that much. Yeah, it's doing a lot. And then Siem effects with like the compressors, what's kind of acting as the OTT. Excuse me. And then just some stereo effects, and that's pretty much it. God damn, that was a very challenging one to make. I was not expecting it to be that challenging. So thank you for that drill. And hopefully that gives you some insight and you can go and recreate that sound and throw it in your song. Sorry it took so long. Fucking hell. But there you go. Should be close enough, and you could tweak it from there and get that tone. Very, very good. Oh boy. All right, moving on. Antihero. $39.15. All right, Antihero. Let's see what you got. Couple questions. Synth/ARP in the intro of Falling. Let's see if I can find it. I have to literally find the project. It's going to be fun. So 19, Falling. Falling, there we go. Ooh, I had Logic. Let's try that. Okay. In the meantime, do you do track from scratch or remix? Not quite sure exactly what this one is asking. You interested to do a track from scratch or remix? A track from scratch or remix? I think what you're asking is, do I usually start tracks from scratch or do I have like starting points, like remixes? Well, it really depends. If I'm doing a remix, I'm doing a remix. But if I'm like working on an original, that usually is entirely from scratch. I don't really have like starting points or samples or anything like that. Kind of just like throwing stuff in the project file and seeing what happens from there. And last one, sample/preset pack for patrons in the future. So yeah, I haven't done as many lately just because I've been touring super aggressively, but there's a really, really large back catalog of Siem presets and samples. There's over 600 samples on this Patreon, so dig back through and you'll be able to find a bunch of those if you go to the search bar and type them in. I guarantee there's a lot of the content that you haven't been able to see yet, and it's all there. It's just about a year old or so, but they're really good samples, I'm not gonna lie. Really, really good starting points. Oh, is it gonna crash my computer? It might. We'll wait for it to respond. If it does respond, I'm gonna eat a bite of yogurt. I'm thinking it might have been a plugin that I don't have anymore. We'll see if that's the case or not. It's downloading all these files. That's why it's taking a minute. Oh, come on. Let's see. I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to shut it down and then reopen it. Yeah, I fucked my whole shit up, not going to lie. Let's try again. Oh, we might have got it. Let's see. There's no audio. So wrong version. Tends to happen. Let's try again. Let's try that guy. It's loading. Okay, chill.
Diving in, feel this is right. I don't know, should we let go? Diving into your mind, just overflow. Are you feeling the sign?
It's this guy right here. And of course, it's not going to show up, it doesn't look like. Ha ha ha. All that just for that. Okay. Is this?
I can't be the only who always feel. I can't. I can't be the only one only for. I can't be the only who I.
Okay, yeah, no fucking dice. I have no idea. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my best guess here is I used Expand 2, which is this plugin. I don't know which preset I would have used because it was 4 years ago now. But I used to use a lot of the mallets and bells in Expand 2. It's a $10 plugin. So that's my best guess as to what that was, but this project's too old. I don't know what exact synth I used for it. I've changed computers twice since that point in time, so I apologize. But yeah, got your other questions, and hopefully that gives you some insight there. Go ahead back and find those sample preset packs. I guarantee you'll be very, very happy with them. All right, moving on to Beau at 50:15. All right, Beau. Hey, Coach. Apologies if you touched this before, but I wanted to know how you like to route your mixes. Each artist has their own sauce that sets their mixes apart. Is there anything in particular that you do that you think sets your mixes apart from others, and why? Sure, I think I can touch on that, and I do think there's a couple things I do that are... I don't know if it would set my mixes apart. When it comes to routing, it's relatively straightforward, but to give you a little bit of a brief insight here. So here's my preset, right? My template, sorry. So here on the pre-master, this is where I put like all my master shit. The master just has a couple of, it has a G-clip just to catch any peaks that leak through. And a mono switch where if I press a button on my keyboard, it toggles mono, so I can easily check the stereo field. Excuse me. Easily check what happens when I collapse the stereo field. So I have the vocal track right here, nothing too special. Intro track, build track. Now in the drop, this is where things get a little bit interesting. I have an into clipper right here. So what this means is that this is usually where I'll put like my heavy bass sounds. And notice that the sub is in here as well. So what I usually do is I push this sub while I have the bass sounds going. So to give you an example, let's just get like a bass sound. Ivory bass. Okay, so there's a bass sound. Okay, so when I'm doing like my sound design, assuming that, you know, at the end of the process, I always cut the low EQ. That's what I do. Okay, now here's my sub. I'm going to put subnode in. And this into clipper really distorts the sub off of that sound right there. So that's all acting because of that into clipper. If I delete that, see, it's still a little bit chunky, but let's see if I put on a G clip. So there you go. So now it's clipping directly into this channel, which frees me up a ton of headroom to put other sounds in here. And then it's just passing up along the groups up until the pre-master, which is where I have all my master effects. It just allows for substantially more headroom and way chunkier, fatter sounding basses. So that's really what's doing the majority of the the heavy lifting in my template, as far as like giving my mixes like an interesting characteristic. I have on my almost all of the sounds channels, there's a sidechain module. It's an automatic sidechain. So if I just press the 2 key on my keyboard, it enables, and then it's gonna sidechain because say for the drop. This kick right here, I use MIDI for my drums because I have this external instrument, which is basically just a device that sends data. That's literally what it does. It's sending MIDI data to this device right here. And when it's sending MIDI data to that device, this device is taking it in and then saying, oh, okay, well, I should do X behavior whenever I receive that signal. So X behavior in this case is ducking the volume of the sound. So therefore it's side chaining. So every single time the kick or the snare hits, it's performing a side chain. And that makes it it doesn't really give a unique flavor as much as just makes it very, very quick to work, extremely quick to get ideas down and get them moving very quickly. But that's pretty much it. That's about anything special that I do routing wise. Nothing is really all that crazy. It's just top to bottom and moving up the chain signal flow. So, of course, it's passing from all these 3 channels up into this group, which passes into this group, which passes into the drop. And that's reciprocated throughout the project. But yeah, I have this template available on the Patreon if you are interested. This is actually my 2023 template. The 2022 template is up there, and I'm still getting this guy polished before I release it to you guys. But that's where we're at. That's what I do. So hopefully that gives you some insight. All right, moving on to Bloadfailed. All right. 5545. All right. Bloodfailed. How to write an email to record label to submit tracks. Like, what should I write about besides the track? Okay, so this is a really good question. Excuse me. Really good question, and the answer here is to keep it as short and concise as humanly possible. Now, to be the bearer of bad news, if you don't have an in with a label, it's very, very, very hard to get them to consider your track. Even if they like the track, they might not be apt to consider it because there's a lot of risk for labels to sign new artists. That's why usually like a new artist gets broken into a label through working with like a manager that has experience from working with other artists with the label, etc., etc. So that's just the disclaimer. But writing to labels, it's very, very easy. Keep it as concise as possible. Any label employee that is going to be listening to your track is probably also going to be listening to hundreds of others, and you don't want to be the one to bog them down forever. Keeping it professional and extremely concise is the way to do it. So what I would do is in the subject line, I would put your artist name and the name of the track, and then in parentheses put demo. So it would look like this. I'm assuming new song is the name of the song. And that's exactly what your subject line would be, okay? In the body, you're going to link. I would put a couple options. So I would put a SoundCloud link, private SoundCloud, and I would put a Dropbox link in there so that they have the option to listen to either one of them. And for your message, I would say, hello, my name is whatever your real name is. My artist project name is Bloadfailed. This is a brand new track that I wanted to submit to the label. It is 150 beats per minute in the key of E minor. It is a hybrid dubstep trap track. Excuse me. In the key of E minor and is 150 beats per minute, etc. Just like the very, very basic details. And then say, thank you for listening, ! And that's it. So to type that all out one more time. Subject. Okay. Body. Wonderful. And then what I would also do is make sure that in your in email, I can't remember what the proper term is, but emails have like footers, basically, where it should have like a link to like 2 or 3 of your social media. So for example, it should like your email template should have like let me see. There you go. So that's what would be in your footer right there. So this is it. This is the entire email. And don't manually put in this footer. I would change the email template once again. So yeah, very short, sweet, and concise. And that's exactly how you want it to be. Whoever is going to be reading it won't have a ton of time, and you want to respect that time and not be overbearing. So this is really all that's needed. And of course the fucking link to the song. Make sure you do links. Do not upload it as an attachment, ever. Just links. So that's pretty much it. That's how you write an email. And I'm actually going to make a video on that after this, and because I think that's pretty insightful information to know. So very good. Excellent question. Thank you for asking. Hopefully that gives you some insight. And yeah, I'm going to make a video off of that because that's a really, really, really good question. So, all right. Moving on, we're going to do Siem. All right, Siem, you're going to be at 102.10. Sorry, got very distracted. Let me change this. 12:40. Okay. All right, Siem, your question is, maybe this has been asked before. Will there be tutorials on visuals? Just some things to get started with, because yours always looks sick. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. I am refraining from doing visuals on this Patreon because there's a couple reasons. One, it's not my focus of expertise. It's something that I do as a side thing, and I'm not as experienced and therefore not as qualified. I also just don't spend nearly as much time making art as I do music, and it's one of those things where I'm still learning very actively. I'm still learning music too, don't get me wrong, but it's like I'm really, really, really still learning 3D. I just am, confident spitting out what I do already know. That being said, some resources that can get you started. Blender Guru on YouTube has a donut tutorial, and that is what got me started. He continues to update it for every version of Blender, and it's very, very intuitive and straightforward. And while it is long, you will understand fully the UI of Blender, which, by the way, Blender is the software that I use to make 3D visuals. It's completely free, and it is wonderful. It's a very, very good software, and I'm very, very glad that I had discovered it. So that's, once again, the Blender Guru Donut tutorial. It is designed for beginners and is by far the most popular tutorial model, and that's mostly because of how good it is. Aside from that, another resource you can use, Ducky 3D. He has a paid course. It's $20. My friend right now is doing that course and is having a really, really positive experience with it. It's marketed as Learn Blender in 2 hours. It's a little bit more like there's 2 hours worth of video content that you watch. And by the time you're done watching that and also following along with it and doing the things that are spoken about, you should have a very good understanding. So both of them are really, really solid starting points for Blender. They will help you get knowledgeable in how to use the software and how to navigate. And then from there, it's just continuing to fall down the rabbit hole and get better and better. But as far as me, I don't think I'm qualified to do that. Also, it's a little bit of a dilution of the Patreon because most people, while interested in those visuals, are here for music tools and stuff and help. So it would be a little bit of a, if I was spending time making assets and content for visual stuff, then I wouldn't be making time and providing that other service for music. So I want to make sure that I keep it clear and concise here so people know exactly what they're getting into. But hopefully those starting points help you out. I'm sure that they will. If you are apt to jump for that, I think you'll have a really good time. But all right, very good. That is February's Q&A. Thanks to everybody who asked, and I'm going to make my way up and do some community demo feedback here. All right, see you guys.